already my third set, which is why I'm so tired. As I was working out today, I remember yesterday's walk. Well, I remembered yesterday's walk because later on today I'm gonna go for my daily walk. I take my dog out for a walk. We take our dogs out for a walk every day about the same time. We adjust that time depending on the weather and the season that we're in. But right now we're going in the evenings. And yesterday I made a lot of progress with a challenge that I've been having with my dog Valentina, and as some of you know, aka Sweet Cheeks, aka Tuna. That's my dog. So Valentina is my baby. She's my dog. I love her. We'll call her Tuna from here on forward because that's probably what I usually refer to her as, and it's gonna sound weird to me calling her Valentina because the only time we call her that is when we go to her vet visits and the vet calls her by her name. So here's a challenge that I've been having. She's a medium energy dog. I've been working with her since she was a puppy. She's 3 years old almost, and yes, we do celebrate her birthday and give her a puppy cake and everything. Party hats, the whole nine. And she's always wanted to walk a little bit ahead of me, and I've struggled with that to get her to walk right next to me or a little bit behind me. It's something that I've been working on for a long time now, and it's a challenge, and sometimes it's more of a challenge and sometimes it's less of a challenge. There's days where she does a little better, which gives me hopes that I'm making progress, and then there's times where she does not so good, which breaks me down a little bit because I feel that I haven't made any progress. Now I know this isn't a her issue, this is a me issue, because she's 100% fine. As the species of a dog, she doesn't need a human in order to be successful, in order to be a full-fledged dog. So it's not a her thing, it's a me thing. I need to learn how to communicate with her so she could do what I want her to do. So yesterday when we got to the park, we went through our regular process. We got to the park, we parked it, we got out of the car, we put the backpack on, we went on our way. We do some cardio stuff just to release some of the pent-up energy, but after that we strap on her backpack and we start for our walk. And it's a 2-mile walk that we do. In a walk with the dog is supposed to be very peaceful for both the dog and the human. And yesterday was one of those days where she was walking a little bit ahead. Despite my techniques and my effort, which I expressed to my wife that I was getting a little frustrated because I was using the same techniques and I was expecting a different result. And we know what that means. And then it's when it happened. My wife took a few steps back and she started giving me instructions. She started to coach me. First of all, my wife is not a dog trainer, although she does have a lot of knowledge and wisdom when it comes to dogs. Matter of fact, she has a lot of wisdom just overall. She's a very intelligent and wise woman. But just by her taking the role of being a coach made a world of a difference. This is what happened. She stepped away and started observing how I was carrying myself and how I was handling my dog. And she noticed that I was doing just a few things that were not in my favor, that wasn't working towards us. So as she stepped away and watched a little bit from afar, she started giving me instructions on when to turn left, when to turn right, when to slow down, when to speed up, when to do a 180, when to loosen the leash, when to give a correction. Every little single thing that I was having a challenge with, she was able to address and look from a third person's perspective, or in this case I should say from a second person's perspective. Her mind was clear. She wasn't frustrated, she wasn't tense, she wasn't worried that she wasn't doing things wrong. She was watching, and she was able to tell me what to do to make the best out of the situation, to make me a better leader in order to be able to communicate with Tuna, my Valentina, my dog, to get her to understand what it is that I wanted her to do. Now I thought this was extremely important and fascinating because, one, like I mentioned again, she's not a professional dog trainer, although she does have a lot of wisdom, so she was able to share that with me. Now where I found it that it was really interesting is that I've had a personal coach before. Good friend of mine, we'll talk about that in another video. But in this case, it was somebody who wasn't a professional dog trainer, but also wasn't somebody who didn't know absolutely nothing about dogs. So that's an important key element when finding someone to coach you. Obviously, if he's a professional, if he has a great brand and he's been doing it for a while and has a great reputation, she's going to demand some sort of compensation that she has earned because of her experience. However, you get somebody who's way down here who doesn't know absolutely nothing of what they're talking about and hasn't experienced anything at all, they could give you suggestions. They could give you what they think. Whether it's going to work or not, or they know what they're talking about, is a different story. So be very careful when you're choosing someone to coach you, and take everything with a grain of salt, so they say. But in this case, I knew that my wife knew quite a bit about handling dogs. We've had many dogs as a family. She's had dogs all her life growing up, so she knew at least the basics on how to communicate with my dog as far as walking on a leash. So by the time we were about halfway to 3/4 through the walk, I was able, with the help of my wife, my coach for the day, I was able to communicate with Tuna that I wanted her to stay right next to me or a little bit behind me, which really set in the importance of having a coach. Sometimes we think that we know enough to teach ourselves and we know enough to get through something on our own. But it's always a good idea to get someone who has some wisdom in what it is that you're trying to do, to maybe watch you and help you get through any challenges you might have. It could be a small challenge, it could be a big challenge. Sometimes it's just a question. If you have somebody that you can trust, that you can ask a suggestion or what they think in order to get you through that bit of a challenge, that's a coach. Whether they have the coach label on their profile doesn't really matter. It's just someone that can give you a wise answer to get you through your challenge. Now, as anybody who has a dog understands that it's not a one and done situation. We're going to do the same thing today, and she's probably going to stand in front of me and do the same thing. Coach me through it, make sure I'm doing it right. She even got to the point where she says, relax your shoulders, you're tense. I would have never have noticed that if I was trying to do this by myself. Getting the perspective of someone else watching you and seeing what it is that you may be missing, what my other coach used to call tweaking and fine-tuning, is what somebody else can observe and make the process a whole lot more pleasant. So whenever you have a challenge that you can't figure out, don't spend too much time going in circles trying to figure out, or don't do what I did, which is even worse. Do the same things and expect a different result. Remember, if you can't figure something out, it's always better if you get a coach.